How you doing today? Today we're going to do a study on the three signs from heaven. It comes from Revelation chapter 12. Of course, here we got pulled up, and Revelation chapter 15. I'm going to call this God's end time signs. And then the moon and the stars upon the earth, the seas and the waves roaring. Our focus this morning is to examine the signs of the heavens in Revelation. Some people, when they read Revelations, they read it from chapter 1 to 22, and they think it's all in chronological orders, but in fact it kind of skips around, backs up, starts again, reverses and starts again. Like maybe you go from 1 to chapter 9 or 10. That could consider be in order, but when you hit chapter 12, it kind of just backs up and comes here to the beginning again, and then it goes over this sign and the next sign, and then it takes off during the tribulation period, and it begins the wrath of God again, and it continues back and goes over the wrath of God again. Chapter 14 being a tribulation period, and chapter 15 being the wrath of God again. Or chapter 13, 14 being tribulations, and 15 through I think about 18 is the wrath of God, or at least 16. 17 and 18 has to do with beast coming, the Babylon beast, and there's actually one that rides the beast that get destroyed, and the other one is the beast, I guess. So you can separate them chapters too. They may actually fall in different time periods. But today's first sign is the sign of Virgo. We're looking at it right now, and we know these stars align on September the 23rd, 2017. At least that's what people are saying. I don't really have it's one of God's numbers. 3.5 years, being 42 months, 42 weeks. But anyways, we're going to do the first one, and it comes from Revelation chapter 12, verse 1. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. But if you're looking at the picture there, you can see that there's no woman. Of course, it's Virgo, because of what this is talking about. And Leo the lion has 9 stars, and Mercury, Mars, and Venus come in line with Regulus, and the sun and the moon, they all line. They're in a straight line, but they form a star around the top of Virgo's head. But this is the first sign of 3, and we're going to look at first. It says there appeared a great wonder in heaven from verse 1. So we know that if we look up into heaven, we'll see the sign in the heavens. Most don't know is that for the most part, the sign to look at in the sign to come to pass. So basically, this is a prophecy. Clothed in the sun, right above her head. You know, it's the Virgo will be clothed in the sun. The moon at her feet. See, the moon's sitting at her feet, and the crown 12 stars. First time in history on the Feast of Tabernacles, September the 23rd, 2017. The constellation of Leo always stands above Virgo in the night, what appears to be 12 stars above the head. I want to remind you of the 4 blood moons, which happened in the last, and if you really study that out, this is going to be hitting, 3.5 years period after that, so it again, 42 months from the beginning of the 4 blood moons. This should open our eyes to say that there's something about these holy days. And again, we live in a different calendar than God lives on, and we celebrate different holidays than God gave us in the Bible. If you go back to Leviticus chapter 23:2, it says, to the children of Israel, say unto them concerning the feast of the Lord. See, these are not our feast days, they're the Lord's feast days, which ye proclaim to be holy conversations. Even these are my feasts. He's saying, these are my feasts. These are not the Jewish feast. They're not the Gentiles' feasts. They're my feasts. And if we serve the Lord, they're our feast days. We also remember that, you know, if you remember the spring feast, how God fulfilled all of them during Passover, the time of Passover, and start, you know, that area, the spring feast He fulfilled already, and He's going to fulfill the fall feast as well. So, you know, this is a sign, and it's actually a sign that's going to happen on the fall feast of the Lord. So, hey, here we go. It's God saying, hey, wake up. Wake up, people. Wake up, Israel. Wake up, God, Gentiles. We need to wake up. The next verse, verse 2 there, says, and she being with a child cried to travail in birth, pain to be delivered. If you look down here in this bottom corner here, I got a little stuff popped up there, but try that again. But that sign appears, Jupiter had moved into the belly, and you see all them numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you know, and then they have the dates down there. In November of 2016, and it's been there for it's going to be there for 42 weeks. But basically, you know, that child is travailed to be birthed. You know, when I think about that, I think of the scripture back in Joel. It says, in the last days I'll pour out my spirit upon all flesh. Your sons and daughters shall prophesy. Young men shall dream visions, or dream dreams, and the old men shall see visions. I think about that verse, and I think, you know, maybe God really is going to do something, and maybe this is a sign that kicks it off, you know. Well, we'll just have to wait and see on that. I mean, that's just my opinion. I know that in Acts, when they were in the upper room, and, you know, Peter quoted that scripture from Joel. You know, this is what the prophet Joel spoke about in the last days, but, you know, in reality, he really wasn't in the last days. We're coming into the last days. I mean, yes, it's a matter of interpretation, but truly, this is the last days. Truly, these are the days that, you know, the prophets were speaking about when they speak of His coming. And we'll get into some of that. We'll get into Daniel, some of his prophecy today. Moving on to the second sign. As you move on, there's a second sign, and somehow I lost the things I had popped up there, but that's alright. We're going to go to the dragon star there. I got it popped up now. Revelation 12:3-4 says, and there appeared another wonder in heaven. Behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads, 10 horns, and 7 crowns on its head, and his tail drew the third part of the heavens, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, for ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. Whether, and I know there's a consolation with the man holding a serpent, and there's this Draco being a dragon, consolation. But, you know, we hear a lot about Planet X and Planet Namuro and all that stuff too. Whatever the case is, you know, and you know, the Mayans said the planet had wings, you know, so this is, you know, to me, that when I read these scriptures, all I know for sure is that, you know, stars of heaven are going to fall. But still, you can get into, you start getting into Planet X, you start getting in some stuff that, people don't really accept, but it's still a possibility, that when, this planet comes by, that it draws the stars and throws them, casts them to the earth. But we get the point. Revelation 12:4 says, "And its tail drew the third part of the stars to the heavens, and it cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to deliver, to devour her child as soon as it was born." This is a second sign, and that's this child, all these years for years, as I study. I mean, I've been studying prophecy for 20 years, but I'm really getting into it in the last 5. But I always learned that that child was Jesus, and it happened back in 1-2 AD, wherever it is in the beginning. I mean, when Jesus at Jesus' birth. But it's getting more and more to believe that this child is actually the church rather than Jesus. I mean, we are His body. The Word says we're His body. The sign happens, and the details around the sign is exactly, this information that it's given us is not what happened back then in 1 AD. It's actually what's going to happen in the end times, in Daniel's 70th week, in the time of Jacob's trouble. So, this is the second sign that appears in heaven that is mentioned in the book of Revelation, that follows the sign of Virgo. This is known as Draco's dragon, located between the Big and the Little Dipper. It's a dragon constellation, and the Bible drew a third of the stars with it. Shut up, go play. I really don't know when the sign will occur, but I want to bring you back to the sign. What comes with it? Reading verse 3, there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, 7 crowns upon his head. This takes you back to Daniel's 7th chapter, where it talks about this beast. And, I'm going to read a couple verses here from Daniel. It says, 7 and 8 says, from chapter 7, verses 7 and 8, "After this I saw in a night vision, behold, the 4th beast, most dreadful and terrible, strong exceedingly, and it was great iron teeth, devoured to break it to pieces. And he stamped the residue of his feet of it, and it was diverse from all the other beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. And I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them this little horn, behold, whom there was 3 of the first horns just plucked up by its roots, and behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and the mouth speaks great things." You can hear Daniel's telling us about the 4th beast, and the difference from the others is how fierce the beast is, and that the 10 horns, and how the little horn was broke off, and 3 were broke off. How the little horn came in and broke 3 of them off. Daniel 7:21 through 26 continues to talk about it. It says, "I beheld when the same horn made war with the saints and prevailed against them." So, now we're talking about tribulations. I mean, whenever the saints are persecuted, that's tribulations. Until the Ancients of Days came and judgment was given to him. Ancients of Days, isn't that Jesus? We know him as Jesus. Until he came, and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High. And at that time, the saints possessed the kingdom. We talk about that, the millennium kingdom here. "Thus, he said, the 4th beast shall be the 4th kingdom among the earth, which shall be more diverse from all other kingdom, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it into pieces. And the 10 horns out of the kingdom are the 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings. And he shall speak great words among the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and shall think to change times and laws, and shall be given to the hands times, and dividing times, 42 months. So, once we see the sign, it's telling us, we have another 32 months probably, I'm going to swear up and down on that, but the second sign, I think, is actually the mid-tribulation sign. You always say chapter 1, 12:1 is chapter 12:1, being mid-trib. People say that, but actually this is the verse 12:3. That's the mid-trib. The first part of this is we're going to be going into, we're probably actually going to see the peace agreement signed and the temple being built, and by the second half, the Antichrist will have to stand up and put an end to the sacrifice, and in the midst of the week. So this may be the sign that occurs on it. And if you read Daniel's, in the 12th chapter, it actually says that between the time that they stop the sacrifice and the time that the abomination of desolation occurs, there's 1,290 days between that. So just so we still have that 42 months here. Daniel continues to talk about this little horn and what it does on the earth, make war with the saints until the Ancient of Days comes, until Jesus comes. Then he goes back and explains what the vision means in verse 21 and 26. He says, there shall be given into his hand until a times, and a dividing times. 3.5 years. I've explained this, but I just don't want to miss anything, so I'm going over my notes here. He, the Antichrist, will destroyed in the end. We reread the same thing in the next chapter, Revelations 13:1, which says, and I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw the beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his head the name of blasphemy. So what we do know about the sign is that it will bring tribulation to the saints of God. We know that there will be 10 kingdoms, 3 kings. 3 kings will fall, giving us 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 kings and 10 kingdoms. But while the sign is happening in heaven, it also mentions that the third of the stars fell to the earth. Revelation 12:4 says, and he drew the third part of the stars of heaven and cast them to the earth. We also read in Revelation chapter 12:9, and that dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil, the Satan, which destroyed the whole. He was cast into the earth, and the angels were cast out with him. So these stars that fall to the earth are actually fallen angels, and Satan himself. This explains that the stars of fallen angels are cast onto the earth. When I started, I told you to look for terms that we're going to go into and show you the damage these stars cause. So basically, when this tail drew a third of the stars and cast them to the earth, it brings damage, and some of the same things, Matthew 29:31, the stars fell from heaven. We read it in, I'll go ahead and read Revelation 6:12-14 here. And beheld, when he opened the 6th seal, lo, there was a great earthquake. The sun became black, the sackcloth of the hair, and the moon became as blood. First of all, that's, if we read that should happen before the day of the Lord, and that's quoted in Acts and Joel. It says, that will happen before the day of the Lord. Okay, read the next verse. Revelation We also know the day of the Lord's a day of wrath, okay? So we don't get, we're all in the same mindset here in the same place. Revelation 6:13 says, the stars of heaven fell upon the earth, you know? So, basically the same thing that the second sign brings is happening, right? Even as a fig tree casts her untimely tree when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And the heavens departed as a scroll as it was rolled together, and every mountain and island was moved out of its place. So these stars that fall to heaven, earth from heaven, causes destruction at the sixth seal. 2 Peter 3:10 says, but the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with a fervent heat. And there's a pause here. And the earth and the works thereof shall be burned up. So, it's the end of what earth as we know it, you know. Basically, take you back to, you know, Matthew, Mark, and Luke all say the same thing, but I'm going to read here from Luke, chapter 21, verses 25 through 28, which is quoted many a time. There shall be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars. Upon the earth distress and nation with perplexity, and the sea waves roaring. Men's heart failing them of fear, looking on them things that are coming on the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And then we shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with power and great glory. And then we shall see our Lord return. And when these things begin to come to pass, look up, lift up your head, for your redemption draweth nigh. Sounds like a rapture to me, y'all, you know. I'm just saying. And I can go back and forth and continue. There's so many things I can do with that and almost prove there's a rapture, but, you know, you can't convince anybody other than that's pre-wrath otherwise. So, you know, what's the point? Or pre-trib otherwise. So what's the point? Revelation 8:12, and the fourth angel sounded, the third part of the sun was smitten, and the third part of the moon, and the third part of the stars. So as the third part of them was darkened. Why were they darkened? It already explained why. Because here in Revelation chapter 12, because they were thrown to the earth. You know, when they were thrown to the earth, they destroyed the sun, the moon, and darkened the stars. See? So the third, and the day shone not for the third part of it, and the night likewise. But of course, this verse happens during the day of the Lord. I'm going to pause for a minute here. Maybe I'll continue because I don't see a pause button. So hopefully we're still recording. And we come up to the... This verse happens after the day of the Lord starts, but it's showing the destruction of what is coming on the earth. It is, if you started out with the signs in heaven, then it progressed to destruction on the sign came in Revelation 4:5, and the tribulation starts. Again, the saints led. The next two verses is what follows. And the verse, when I say the tribulation starts, the word tribulation is persecution, basically. Trials and tribulations. Some people hear that word in their mind, they're thinking, okay, tribulation is the wrath of God. No, don't get the two terms mixed up. Don't, you know, because they say the tribulation period, they're thinking of Daniel's 70th week, thinking of time of Jacob's trouble. Don't get the two terms. It's even the time of Jacob's trouble. It's Great tribulation is part of Jacob's trouble. It's not the whole thing. So just so you know, don't think when you say tribulations you're talking the wrath of God. Two separate things. Tribulation, wrath of God. Just like sorrows and tribulations. Two great tribulations. Yes, they kind of interchange, but they're two separate things. Again, when it comes to the Bible, you have to separate the two until you find things that are alike, and then you say, okay, that's the same. Revelation 12:5. And she brought forth a man-child who should rule all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up unto God and in his throne. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she was placed prepared for her, that they should feed her 1,260 days. You know, this woman is actually Israel, the 144,000, the same that Isaiah said that would rise. Matthew 28 actually did rise at the resurrection. So it's the same people. Isaiah prophesied, Matthew fulfills, Revelation confirms. So we're going to have to go through that, but I ain't got time to do it right now. This child was caught up to God, and the same word as a rapture used in 1 Thess 4:17. So should we be looking for these signs? I would say so. 1 Thessalonians 4:17, everybody knows this rapture verse. Then we which are alive and well shall remain and caught up together with them in the clouds. Our hope is in our God. The Bible tells us that the world, we shall have tribulations. But if we also say that we are not appointed, it says that we're not appointed to wrath. So anything I talk about after these signs we will not see. But I say, and I'll show you, there is another sign in heaven, or wonder in heaven. Also notice how the woman Israel fled into the wilderness, which took care of 1,260 days. At the same time, the child is caught up to the throne. John wrote it about this, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea nor the sea, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their forehead. So we're going to hold back the wrath of God until we seal Israel, the 144,000. The third sign is found in Revelation 15:1-3. I don't think I have a picture for it, but I'll just go ahead and pull back up. This just so we can look at it. This is Revelation 15:1, and I saw another heaven in it. I saw a sign in heaven great and marvelous, 7 angels having the 7 last plagues, and in them were filled with the wrath of God. And I saw as it were a sea of glass mingled with fire, and them that had gotten the victory over the beast, and over his name, and over his mark, and over the number of his name, stand on the sea of glass having the harps. Now hear this, and they sing the song of Moses and the servants, and the song of the Lamb, saying, great and marvelous are the works, Lord God Almighty. Just as true are the ways, King of Saints. And you know, firstly, let's mention the first verse where it says, and there I saw another sign in heaven, and in it was filled with the wrath of God. A sign, 7 angels having 7 bowls, a sign in the air, in the sky, in the stars. And then the next one says, and I saw it was a sea of glass mingled with fire. You know, this is heaven. And I saw them that had gotten the victory over the beast, and over his image, and over his mark, over the number of his name. I saw them that come out of great tribulations. Like Revelation 7:14 says, and I said unto him, Sir, thou knowest. And he said unto me, these are they that come out of great tribulation, have washed their robes and made them white as snow. Same exact thing. Same exact thing. And they sung the song of Moses, the song of the Lamb, saying, Great and marvelous are thy works, Almighty. Just and true are the ways, thou King of the saints. See? We are raptured before the wrath of God. We are not appointed to wrath. How beautiful. How beautiful. Well, there are signs coming on that we should look for. We just need to, in closing here, just look to heaven. God has created, put the stars and the moon and the sky and the sea for signs and seasons. Like Genesis 1:14 says, and God said, let there be lights in the firmaments of heaven to divide the day from night, and let them be for signs, for seasons, and for days, and for years. We have to look to the bird to be ready when the time comes that God will show us. He tells us to watch. What are we watching for? What are we looking? Are we going to be ready when He comes? But if we are not watching and ready, we're going to be like the foolish virgins who had no oil in their lamps when they returned for His bride. Yes, there has been many who predict certain events in the past and missed it, but what if the sign in Revelation 12:1-2 comes this September 21, 2017? What do I expect to follow? A peace agreement? Maybe? Yeah. The building of the temple? All this must be done for the Antichrist to sit in a temple and profess to be God. And if you read 2 Thessalonians 2:3, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day will not come, except there become a falling away first, and the man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposes and exalteth himself all that is called God, that is worship, so that he, as God, sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you.